Welcome to the Postgame. Thank you to DJ Danarchy. Thank you to Alyona Minkovski. Wow, that was loud. Thank you for being here, Alyona, as always.
Thank you for having me.
Super producer Matt Leck, head theoretician David Griscom. Yes, we're going to get this right. Griscom. Don't tempt me to make a joke, Matt. Don't be enunciating things and giving me problematic ideas. Super producer David Slavic. He is roaming the Discord and the Digitosphere. And we are in the postgame where the fun will continue. Alyona was actually dropping us some jewels on her interpretation of Ether during the during the break.
My highly educated guesses.
But you know what? At least you might not be as versed in hip hop or whatever. That's fine. But at least I feel like in general, rap that is about having sex with girls, killing people, and dealing drugs, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
That's my basic dividing line. Because I love, Neda was in here a couple weeks ago, Neda Khan, all love to her, but she totally was holding it down for I do beats for the people because I love and it's yeah, fuck all that. Come on. Where's the negativity?
Yeah, no, I'm not above, music that I should, I guess, technically be offended by or morally opposed to, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Just not.
And I'm neither morally offended by nor personally opposed to that music.
But this is when now my friends and I, growing up, in LA, the West Coast, even, every Dr. Dre song and the Chronic 2000 album, now when we hear it back and yet we still sing every single word and we're oh God, what the fuck were we just rapping along
with? Why? Because it was
when
so
we were
good.
13.
That is actually kind of fucked. I'll give you that.
My first
just never really considered it.
I did wonder age. When I was sick. When I would looked back on my middle school and high school years, I was where did I get these terrible ideas about how to deal with women?
Yeah,
where did that come from?
Or I mostly feel bad for my mom, who her English wasn't very good, and so she would just let me listen to whatever in the car.
Right,
and because she didn't understand it,
she had to drive as an actual mom while you were.
Well, I was listening to DMX. I went through a major DMX phase.
Of course you did.
And I'd just be sitting in the car next to her. Whatever, 11 or 12 years old, rapping along to it and barking periodically.
Well, now we're going to do a karaoke segment the next time you're on. You know that, right?
What is wrong with my child?
This reminds me of the first parental advisory CD I ever got.
Which was that? Which one was that?
I'll play a little bit of music.
Drop a little jewel on us here, Matt. Of course this was.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh.
This is literally, if I had to put money on what your first parental advisory album was, it would be this.
I bought it at the Minneapolis airport. I was with the school trip.
That's pretty amazing.
Peak Leck. It's so fucking wholesome. So wrong.
That's what I mean. My mom let me buy anything, even if it had the explicit parental advisory thing on, because she didn't know what it meant.
Yeah,
I wasn't about to tell her.
My parents let me buy everything too. And by the time I think I don't know. It was also your friends would it was easy to get stuff.
Yeah, no, it wasn't an issue to get your hands on it, but also it was just never a thing for me. Oh, my mom won't let me buy that. It was my mom has no idea what a parental advisory is in English.
So who is this dog? He's barking.
I just feel that and
Lotus money, power, respect. All right, thanks, Mom.
I also went through a Linkin Park phase.
Well, that I also see. That I also see.
It was so embarrassing, some of my past musical choices, but that's another one where it's how did my mom deal with that? And just let me actually blare
just because they were so
car.
Annoying, right?
Yeah, they're so loud.
Yeah. Oh, they're terrible. But their lyrics weren't. like bad, right? They were just annoying.
very
Oh no,
angsty.
yeah, no, just super angsty. But it was just like a lot of screaming,
Right.
You know,
It was all like, my mom will let me borrow like,
but I was very it's sad when Chester Bennington took his own life.
My downstairs neighbor
Didn't
was
have any effect on me.
blasting the Linkin Park Jay-Z collab album all morning.
Today?
Today.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was like very frightening. It's like a dad. He has like a kid.
Well, that's what happens.
Imagine dad.
People listen to bad music in high school, and then they become their 20s
Oh my
and 30s,
God.
and they procreate, and they still listen to that music.
If
That's
you're-
what happens.
if
It's
you're-
very disturbing.
If your dad got into Jay-Z and Linkin Park in 2018,
That's what all of a sudden you start to. Oh, I can't even deal with this. Jesus Christ. By the way, this should be another strike in the Nas is better than Jay-Z column. Thank you. There was no Nas Linkin Park project.
Yeah. Well, Jay-Z had I feel like a string of really bad, poor music choices.
Yeah, he was.
a
Well,
while.
it was too conceptual for him. He's like, I want to do music with all expand who I am. Look, Linkin Park. Where.
You know what? There's some song that I'm not going to pretend like Jake and I listen to like really good music at home. We're not music snobs.
Really?
By any
I thought
means.
you guys would be listening to like Vivaldi.
We just like listen to
Yeah.
a lot of like 90s and early 2000s R&B.
Hell yeah. Well, that's not bad. How is that bad
No,
music?
which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
But then there was some song that he kept like playing recently, and I
Montel Williams.
just thought it was R. Kelly. I just assumed it was R. Kelly, and I was
Right.
kind of like not saying anything because I like try to not listen to R. Kelly anymore. But it's like this song that was like so catchy, like all the goddamn songs are.
And who was it?
And then he told me that it wasn't him, and I was like, I've never been happier to
Who
listen
was
to
it?
a song called "The Neighbors Know My Name."
The neighbors know my name.
I think-
That's the best. That is the best song title I've ever
I
heard
think
in my
he
life.
said, is it Trey Songz?
I have no clue.
yep, Trey Songz.
That's a
yeah.
great-
So
that is
I
a-
bet the neighbors know my name. And everybody like he sounds just
Matt,
like R. Kelly.
obviously that's another drop.
Name.
Nope, sorry. I should have. Shh. Alona,
It
please.
sounds
Go ahead.
just like R. Kelly, and I was like, "Fuck yes, you're somebody who sounds just like that, sings like raunchy songs just like that, but isn't R. Kelly and doesn't enslave women,
Yeah, what's going on in children? He enslaves
children."
children.
Good point.
I mean,
He's a monster.
like, wow. I mean, fuck. Yeah, that
And to
one
correct,
is-
I actually don't listen to R. Kelly music anymore. It took me a long time to get there, but I did
You were
finally
listening to
make.
Ignition on the way here.
No, but I
me
did
that.
make that very, just like hard call, and except
Can
for
you
that, there was
not-
like
what
this
about, can
one
you
song
listen to
I
Mike-
didn't know, and I was like, "Is it R. Kelly?"
Can you
or
listen to
isn't
Michael
it?
Jackson?
That's a good question. Actually, I had this, a long discussion about this with someone recently about the Spotify decision and like the Michael Jackson stuff.
Well, what's your call on it?
I don't know. I don't know. The world is complicated. I feel like I should have.
The world's complicated. It's a complicated place. No, I mean,
Sorry,
I
there's
guess.
kind of bug.
Whoa,
I just-
it's okay. You don't
hitting
need to.
the mic.
I really didn't know what was happening there. Just in my periphery, I just thought like flailing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say anything about Michael Jackson. It's all right.
I'm really sensitive to flying animals right now. I just found a bunch of my sweaters in my closet had all my nice cashmere sweaters had
Ooh.
holes because the moth
Oh,
fucking chewed through them,
Never
and so I
do
had
that
to
to a
clean
Russian
everything out. Had to scrub everything. I just dropped
So
off
you're-
a gazillion sweaters at the dry cleaner. And then last night, after all of that, I was laying there getting ready to go to bed. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw something flying. I literally just flew out of the bed to kill this moth. You son of a bitch.
motherfucker! You ruined my cashmere. I'll kill you. That's awesome.
I bought the cedar chips. I have the lavender. I've tried everything
No, you
except
need
for
to.
mothballs, which are, an insecticide and toxic, and you'd rather
Right.
not have them in your home.
Right.
And those, little fuckers.
I burned Palo Santo in my apartment. I don't know if that helps.
What is that?
It's like it's from Latin America, right? It's kind of like a Latin American incense.
Like a wood.
But it's actually a wood. It's a lot more subtle than incense. It smells really, really nice. It's kind of understated. And somebody told me, I don't know if this is bullshit, because this is the type of thing that like the people like the shea butter / essential oil type stores that sell this would tell you, because you're like, oh, is this Palo Santo? And they're like, yes, this is like it smells nice, which is true. And then they'll go to like, you motherfucker. So I'm trying to get you back. So then like. But then they're like, and it also balances your chakras, and it also keeps bugs away. So I don't know.
Yeah, like Michael and I are both like basic white girls, just like
I'm totally
smoking up wood to get good vibes in our apartments.
100% basic white
girl. Can I Amazon Prime some Palo Santo right now?
I would do that. I would totally do that if I were you. Except I buy it from local stores, but that's just me. You gotta approach your. I mean,
I want to know which rainforest it came from and what the tree's name was.
It's actually a legit question. You know the way the world works. I am going to discover that this like nice Palo Santo is probably it's like harvested from some like fucking endangered Amazonian forest, like presided by a military.
It's child labor,
right?
Yeah.
It's like I extract the Palo Santo all day. They say it is good for the chakra in America, but my hands have no feeling in them. God. What does this mean for my chakras? Oh my God, we really need to find Jesus. You're calling from a 760 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Michael. It's Kenny, Kentucky Fried Comrade.
How are you, brother? What's going
on? Doing all right. I'm
got to pick up the energy, buddy.
Dreading the news.
What?
Yeah,
what
I'm dreading the news.
What news?
Just
you mean
the
like
California primary. It's
rough. I thought you were saying if Drake did release this song.
Tell us the latest, Kenny, because we've been too busy talking about really non-important things.
I actually totally disagree with the second part of what you just said. These are all really important things. Palo Santo and Drake's illegitimate child. But yeah, are there any results so far?
Not that I've seen. I actually called in first to say we actually had a movie session where we watched the Anthony Weiner documentary on the Discord together.
Jesus
that was
Christ.
A fun time.
That must have been really intense. What did you guys think?
I think it's a really good documentary. It is a slow motion train wreck of the worst sort, but it's entertaining.
Yeah, it is.
I did call in to complain about the California top 2 system, the jungle primary system.
Okay, why?
Because it's super stupid and people start doing stupid things. So particularly, there's some weird implications for how it works, because since you have no traditional party primary, everybody's just kind of running for the same seat.
Right.
And when that happens, you see people doing a lot of weird tactics. For example, in his campaigning, Gavin Newsom is basically subtly trying to promote John Cox because he would rather run against John Cox than
he's the Republican
Villaraigosa.
Right. So he was running ads basically saying John Cox is terrible because Trump supports him and he's a great conservative, which is obviously a signal to Republicans you shouldn't stay home. Go vote for this guy. He's solid.
Yeah.
And that concerns you because you think that will increase turnout in November for Republicans.
I'm more just complaining about how the structure of this system causes people to start doing really weird things. So I have a couple other examples here.
Okay.
Villaraigosa is hiring Republican strategists on his campaign team because if he does place in the top 2 system, he wants to appeal to Republicans and moderate independent voters because he knows he has to flank from that direction against Newsom.
Right.
Even though they're both traditionally Democrats.
Well,
and then on the federal level,
I don't know
on the
about
federal
that.
level.
Yeah, on the federal level.
then on the federal level, you have the DCCC spending about $100,000 subtly promoting Republican candidates in other down ballot races because they want to split the vote among Republicans versus their Democratic counterparts in the hopes that Democrats get the top 2 places. So they're still spending on Republican campaigns. It's a weird kind of topsy-turvy system.
So, yeah, I mean, but I guess theoretically, like, as an example, if this worked out, that there were 2 Democratic candidates in November, that would, like, a Senate race in the general election between Dianne Feinstein and Kevin De Leon is better than one with her against the Republican.
You have more choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, in theory, but again, you still have, like, California is always going to go, not always for all time, but it is very solidly blue right now.
Right.
And what you see a lot of candidates doing is kind of playing like random little Pied Piper strategy games with Republican candidates in the hopes that they have they get to run against a Republican rather than a Democrat because they think they'll have better chances against the Republican.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you have Democrats passing out leaflets in I want to say 49, District 49 or 48, saying, don't vote for me because if you vote for me, you're splitting the vote against a much better candidate.
So what's your actual worry about this, though? Like, I get what Newsom is doing specifically. I understand why that bothers people with regards to how it could affect congressional races. And that's a serious thing. But I feel like, with, I guess, more broadly, like people engaging in different types of campaign tactics that we may or may not find distasteful. Like, I don't think that's the end of the world. I think I don't know. It seems like there's a lot bigger things to worry about.
To me, it's kind of like this is why we can't have nice things, Like, in theory, I think that this jungle primary is great because it's meant to disrupt the 2-party system, and the hold that has on things. And so it's supposed to reward just great candidates no matter where they come from.
Just great people, no matter where they come from.
Not great, but you know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to give you more choice.
That was pretty good. Did you hear that?
No, I missed it. Let's do it again.
Go for it again. That was pretty good.
The best people.
No, that's not bad. Solid work.
But people then, they play dirty. And unfortunately, yeah, that's kind of the result.
I feel like, though, that like people will play dirty regardless.
No matter what. Yeah.
And that the more fundamental issues, like, this is why I know I annoy people on both sides of this, because I know that there's like some people really get annoyed by me because I don't think like that these little like electoral tinkerings are really going to be like, I think fundamentally if you want to deal with like the structural problems in politics, and I know this is like a big, ask and a significant task, but like there's structural problems in the economy and really in just like power bases in society, which are reflected in electoral politics. Right. And I don't think, it's the same reason why I am skeptical of, certainly on a national level, some third-party activity. But it's like, to me, this is just like the classic kind of like, oh, well, we'll do this thing tinkering with the system, which I agree is kind of a cool idea. I get it conceptually. But as long as you have a process that's just totally dominated by money and very limited ways that people can build coalitions, it's not really going to lead to anything different. But then conversely, Kenny, I annoy people like you because I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. Sure. Like there's some fucked up campaigning. Like, so I just don't get, I don't
like,
get,
you're not going to not have fucked up campaigning. You're not.
Yeah, I think even in a very enlightened society, there'll still be like, I think literally, even Assad was pointing to stuff like in radical, brilliant and innovative and necessary socialist organizing, but like, politics involves compromise. Politics involve, like, even if you set the baseline you want, there's always just going to be an element of like, politics is a way of dealing with people that involves a lot of fucking irritation, and I don't think that can ever be.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
So I don't know, man.
No, I'm not. Actually
I wouldn't worry too much.
No, I'm actually not. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not actually super annoyed with you, and I actually mostly agree with you that, like, yeah, those are the rules of the game. The game allows you to do that. You're going to do that. I do think it's like particularly absurd in California because, again, you get to this system of national Republicans and national Democrats funding each other's campaigns. So like when someone like you or I might donate to the national committee, you don't realize that your money might actually be going to fund a Republican campaign to play like 69-dimensional chess in another state.
Dude, I am not, again, I'm not a moral perfectionist about any of these electoral stuff, but like I definitely would not give money to the Democratic congressional campaign committees right now. Like that's just
sure. No, that is true.
On every level.
Yeah, they're also trying to shut down any progressive candidates.
They're trying to shut down progressive candidates, and they suck. They're not good at what they do.
Yeah.
They don't even perform well by their own metric. Like when we were fucking like kids and teenagers and shit, there was a crop of leaders that were, awful from our political perspective, but they did have Bill Clinton and Tony Blair did like actually win in their day. These people are putting the same politics forward, and they're not strategic, effective, or ruthless. So they're fucking useless. So I wouldn't even, of course, I would only give my money to any of these candidates directly, of course, or to outside groups that I believed in. I would not give to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and especially without their fucking emails. Hey, this is a reminder from Nancy Pelosi that Donald Trump's still president. Donald Trump's still president. Did you guys remember that? Yeah, it's super bad. Oh my God. Did you see what happened on Twitter? Fuck that. Yes.
My favorite actually the emails that sound like
I try. They actually keep getting away. I didn't even know I was.
Now you're going to donate to the Democratic Campaign Committee.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
My last thing on this, David Ferris had a good essay, or op-ed, I should say, in Huffington Post. David Ferris being the guy who was on Majority Report recently. But his proposal for fixing the top two system as it currently exists is basically to institute ranked choice voting. And I actually do think that's probably a good bridgeable gap in terms of maintaining that system, but making it kind of less wacky.
I agree. I think ranked choice voting, again, it's not like a panacea the way people think it is, but I think that is a decent reform.
Agreed.
And I agree with that. Thanks a million for the call, brother.
Yeah, you guys have a good one.
Thank you. Speaking of remembering lyrics, does Donald Trump remember the national anthem? I know I do.
I think it's America the Beautiful.
Yeah, it's not actually the national anthem.
Really? America Beautiful?
Do you remember which song is the national anthem?
Matt, could you get to the fucking... All right, here's Donald Trump with... where was he?
Well, this is important to note where he's at. This is at where... What would have been...
Is that like a school shooting memorial or something?
No, this is what would have been the congratulations for the Philadelphia Eagles. But he disinvited them because of their lack of patriotism. So
total lack of patriotism. All right. Yep. America's great. Whatever. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in honoring our country by singing God Bless America.
From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean.
Yep, that's right. That's the good line right there. Yeah. Alyona, what was he doing? What was he doing during the song? You should care to show us again? Was he conducting?
Kind of like, yeah, boys, good job, keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
I hadn't
Those
seen
are
that
the
video
lyrics.
yet, so it was amazing.
Those are the lyrics, exactly. Will you hit us with a little bit of sassy Trump with the national anthem? Because there is some decent
That's the first thing I
speculation.
thought of is when I saw him do that. Like Peter Serafinowicz needs to be like, yeah,
well, he did national anthem. Have you seen Sassy Trump yet? Have I showed you this? This is the
think so.
funniest thing of the Bush or the Trump era. So this guy, it's almost all just like what Trump has said and done, but done in a sassy voiceover that fits Trump's personality like to a T. So here he is.
Bright stride. Oh, land of friend. And the home of the brave.
That was really good.
This guy's a genius.
That was really, really good.
This guy, those videos are unbelievable. They're the
I'm
greatest.
gonna check them out now.
They're the greatest translator of Trump of anything that has been produced by pop culture in this time. A few questions from the Discord. Are you guys aware of the Poor People's Campaign that was recently that Reverend Barber recently revived? Yes, that was the shout out 2 weeks ago.
Get with it.
Get on it, science division. They've been holding peaceful protests and direct actions for the last 4 weeks, and there's 2 weeks of protests left. Yes, I would be totally open to interviewing him. I would be. That's something we'll look into. Question from Dimit. What would you say were the positives to take away from Venezuela under Chavez? Anybody can tackle that. I mean, I'm happy
I'm gonna let you handle it.
Lotus, like, totally into. I think
what they said about
Hard
Bush.
pass.
yeah, I think yeah. Pusha T was a lot more effective than Drake. David, you're a communist.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be so timid about Venezuela. I mean, I feel like there was a lot of significant gains for the poor people in that country under Chavez. I mean, I think what's upsetting about what happened now is that the economy did not diversify at all. So it's always going to be
right.
The country's always going to be able to be at a chokehold based on its oil exports. And at the same time, Chavez did not create a structure that was going to be very democratic, especially after he left. But I mean, I feel like if you look at the increase in life expectancy and overall conditions for poor people in Venezuela, I think that we have to at least say that that's a positive thing.
Well, I think there's no doubt if you're talking about from the perspective of defending the real achievements of Chavez and against U.S. interference, then that position is quite clear. Alyona, get that motherfucker.
I just flew into my face. Touched my face. I'm pissed.
Hell yeah. So that's true and that's important. I think though that now, I think that it's not worth twisting yourself into knots to defend something that's untenable. And I don't think that's a strategic. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. But and especially now with Maduro, because my view of especially like Maduro's last campaign is this is not even a flawed, problematic, but in some ways defensible socialist project. Like this is straight up like just clientelism. Like he's like very specific. Like there's narrow resources, they're rapidly shrinking, and you can get a food basket if you vote in the same way. Now, again, there's still a coup threat, and there's still really reactionary forces. So I don't know what the answer is, but I also know that like right now, to suggest that we're still at a point where we could say like maybe this is some type of model or success. It not only is inaccurate, it starts to become like this shit where, like, okay, well, put down your iPhone, motherfucker, and go move there. Like which I hate that kind of attitude, but generally, but it does start to be like, all right. Let's be real.
The thing is, and the way that Chavez structured the government, I mean, he always needed to be in the center of it because he had to. The thing is, Chavez was a very charismatic leader, and he was able to control the military,
massively
the trade
charismatic,
unions,
yes,
and the business folk. And the problem is Maduro doesn't have those kind of relationships. I mean, he's a trade unionist that's his background before being in the government, which is he doesn't have those relationships with the other aspects of the government. So, of course, there's going to be a power struggle without Chavez. And any kind of progress that happened under Chavez, once he leaves, it's going to go away very quickly. Which is like that's a lesson I think that we can take from it.
That's the problem with the cult of personality. I feel like
100%.
Yeah, no, I think that's true, and I think but again, this is one of the reasons I hit Brazil so hard because Lula was legitimately a success, and also he did the opposite. He did what all of the motherfuckers here want, which is like he made peace with the wealthy people. He created all of these win-win solutions, and he's still the subject of a coup. So to me, like that. The only lesson in some ways for a certain type of Latin American left, in the same way that part of the reasons that the Cubans were so brutal when they took over was because they saw what happened in Guatemala, right? Like they saw a coup. So they're like, oh, okay. If the CIA and United Fruit is just going to come in here or the mafia or whoever the fuck else, then yeah, we have to be brutal. And I think that, undermining what they did in Venezuela definitely shows people like, okay, if that can't appease you, then nothing can. But I don't know. I know some people from Venezuela who are not reactionary and do not defend the old order and don't deny Chavez's accomplishments, and they're still like, but literally the place is done. And I just can't deny that reality at a certain point. You know what I'm saying? So it's tricky. Dank Uger, do you think she just caught that? I've actually always been shocked that you haven't laughed at that name before.
Have you said it before?
Yes. And I've always been like, Alona's going to love this.
I didn't even know. I feel like I just didn't notice it.
Well, this is for me, but this should be addressed to everybody. Did you think it was inappropriate when Tupac made fun of Prodigy for having sickle cell? I did not at the time when I first heard it. I thought it was a totally dope lyric when he said, fuck around, have sickle cell, die of a heart attack. I thought it was really funny. But as I said in the conversation with Waz, that when you hear something when you're 14, it is different than when you're 34. It just goes from like, haha, you have sickle cell to like, whoa, that's a little mean to somebody suffering from MS. So maybe I've matured, ever so slightly.
I'm an absolutist. I think everything goes in rap beef and comedy.
Yeah. But that is basically my position. Everything goes in rap beef and comedy, and the sickle cell line was pretty sick. No pun intended. Alona, I know you like the sickle cell line.
So the same way that I described it earlier is like same thing. When I was at that age, I don't think I even maybe I didn't even understand it.
You're most like, why he want the other man have a sickle cell? This is very wrong. He is worse than the man who barks.
I just like how there's certain lyrics that you hear now when you're an adult, or even movies you watch that you used to watch all the time as a kid, and you're like, oh, and there's things that you just did not get.
But Hit 'Em Up is that whole last, oh man. Like, get a seizure, a heart attack. Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, it was brutal. Love that. I actually, you know what? I'm really revealing myself here because I still think it's pretty cool. David, what do you think of that line?
I mean, if you're trying to destroy your opponent, I mean, going for it.
Yeah.
Let's do the Bannon.
Just the easiest, cheapest blow.
The Fareed Zakaria one. Yeah, but it's not. I don't know if it's even cheap. It's just fucked up. Which is
because you can't respond to it because it's just like there's no way to spin it.
Yeah,
right? It's like
it's like no, I
won't even make a bad joke.
I was gonna say be careful. We're right on the edge here. Right, even my standards. Question from Red Garlic. Did I send that to you, Matt? What would the highlight of Michael Brooks's diss track against Sam Cedar be? That's a really good question. And I just want to say that I can't put it out there because it would destroy Sam's life.
It's so savage.
Yeah, it's so savage.
I can't even tell you.
Like, Jank Uger called me up and he was just like, dude, just please. Don't do it. Okay. Let's see.
Can I excuse myself for
Yeah,
one
of
second?
course.
Okay.
Anytime you need to excuse
I
yourself,
should've
of
gone
course.
during the break, you know.
It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Did you get that bug, I hope?
BRB.
Did you get the bug? Did you get the fly?
Maybe.
All right, I'll take another call. You're calling from a 708 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Michael and crew. This is Dragon Slayer 19 calling from the Sugar Island Land area. How are all you tonight?
Doing well. How are you?
Actually, Michael, I'm not feeling too well. I'm feeling kind of a little bit isolated and a bit aggrieved. And honestly, it's in part because of you, Michael. Because
Right. Okay.
this the Peterson shit, it's been really getting to me.
The Peterson
I was
shit?
calling in last week. Yeah, I was calling in last week to try and voice some criticism of it, and then Michael, you silenced me because you wouldn't let me view my points. and so Michael, I just have some questions for you because
Yeah.
I just don't understand how you can make these systemic critiques as it just because of your PC-ness or somehow historical Marxism analysis doesn't work with it or something. But Michael, how can you say that dragons don't exist?
That's
if
right.
you don't address if you don't address this, then how do we know healthcare, college, all this? Do dragons get this now because you won't acknowledge their existence? And so this has really gotten to me, Michael, and I feel like you've really left me behind. You and the left in general have left me behind. And so I feel I have no choice, Michael, but to change my name now to The Last Slayer 19.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to follow me, you can follow my new show, The Slayer Report, on patreon.com/The Last Slayer 19.
Okay.
Where we are going to address some of these systemic problems like the dragon question. Are they hoarding all the gold and controlling our media? The bell curve. Why do Eastern dragons score better than Western dragons and African wyverns on the IQ test?
Okay.
And if you are a $500 subscriber, you can get a private cam session with me and my plushie Toothless, and we're going to address dragonism and why it's fundamentally against Western civilization ideals, and why moderate dragons like Toothless need to speak up about dragonism so that we can win the war of ideas.
Okay.
And so, Michael, I hope one day
Yes.
you will understand why this is such an important issue to address, okay? Because dragons exist, they're ruining our society, and I hope you'll one day be able to platform these ideas and our freedom of exchanging. And I'm sorry, I have to go.
Oh, it's the crying part. Okay, I appreciate it. I I can't even describe all of the internet stuff happening in that call, but it was well executed. Have you heard Like I Love You by Justin Timberlake featuring Clips? Because that's Pusha T. Alyona. Wait, is her mic down?
Yeah, I don't. Oh, now I hear myself.
Jesus Christ, she's giving us perfect fucking drops.
That's Pusha T?
Clips is Pusha T. That's him and his brother.
Oh, you're right. Got it. And yes, I have heard that song because I'm a big JT fan. At least now, I think some of his recent music sucks, but
Yeah, he sucks.
He
Totally
pisses
sucks.
me off. I
Drill.
always say that as somebody who just has so much respect for his talent, and I'm so deeply disappointed by whatever he just put
JT
out.
affects people.
Yeah.
Drill has a reminder that the Drake Pusha T beef is literally just two grown men sitting in their rooms writing poems about each other. I don't know necessarily they're in their rooms, but it's a fair point.
Yeah, they're much cooler environments, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pusha was in a resort in Utah, which sounded really beautiful. And I don't know, Drake's probably somewhere
great.
fucking.
Who doesn't
bitching
get
and
their best
whining.
inspiration?
By
when
the
they're
way,
at a resort in Utah.
Somebody stole a tank in central Virginia.
Somebody stole a tank.
Police are pursuing a tank that was stolen from Fort Pickett. I got.
I was like, why was there a tank in Virginia?
Fanfare and a shofar. Oh, this is amazing. It's cute.
Oh my god.
It does look kind of cute.
It's funny because it looks like one of those videos you normally only see in Russia. You know?
With the dash cams?
Just like weird shit like this only happens in Russia.
I feel like in Russia there would be like a couple of motorcycles on the side of the tank and like some type of techno music.
Or maybe just like a naked guy running after it or something. Yeah.
Did you see the slapping contest in Russia?
I did not.
That was insane. They did a segment on that on Jesus and Mero. Actually, it was literally just guys standing in a room smacking each other, seeing who could like go the longest. And they have like.
You've never done that?
I gotta watch.
Well, I don't film it. Sure. All right, Alyona, let's do a little Steve Bannon. So your viewing wasn't all for naught. Okay.
I mean, now it's like I'm traumatized. I feel triggered that you even mentioned it again. I'm sad that
I feel triggered by your use of the word trigger. Triggered is a banned word on this show.
I only use it sarcastically.
No, I appreciate that. Here he is with Reed Zakaria.
Has anyone ever actually told you in a serious tone
that they were triggered on my show?
In life?
In life. No. My social groups are pretty cleansed.
They're pretty legit.
Yeah, I hang around with they're solid people.
I feel like it's more of like a psychiatric term that's sort of been applied broadly.
You know what was funny is I've actually heard people say it in an appropriate sense. Like I've heard people like I don't want to betray anybody's
like a PTSD trigger.
Right. Like I've heard people actually say like when this actually upsetting thing happens, it reminded me of this actually other profoundly upset, like it was a serious conversation. But no, not like, I don't know. I don't know what.
Do you ever wonder if you were still a college kid today, if you...
No, I'd be fucking cool. Nope. I'm sorry. Don't finish your question.
That was my question.
What do you think? What would you be like?
Oh, God, I hope I would never say that something upset me and triggered me.
I mean, it's hard to tell. I don't know. It was already sort of there.
Was it?
Yeah.
I remember, what was it? Trigger warning when we were going over the syllabus in one of my classes at NYU.
Really?
And all it really did was like, hey, by the way, on this day, we're going to be talking about this if you don't want to come to class or like want to make arrangements or something.
Well, I think the whole trigger warning on syllabus has been totally over dramatized.
Yeah.
Like this is like that's like not such a big deal at all as far as I'm concerned.
That's whatever. You're giving people a heads up.
Yeah, give people
exactly. I'm with you. It's
like why would that bother anybody?
Yeah.
Right. But
I probably just never read the
surprise, we're talking about sexual violence today.
Hey, guess what? Watching Clockwork Orange. Boom! If you leave, fail. That's actually pretty fucked up. No, I mean, but it's interesting because it's like gauging the difference between like what are the things that they're going to be proven right about, and then what are the things that people are going to be like, Jesus Christ, that was fucking embarrassing, right? And I think like obviously I think I have a decent instinct on those things, or I wouldn't be talking about them. But I also think like there is an element like we don't know, obviously.
Well, I don't know. I think it's fascinating to me because when I watch all the kids from like Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School and how incredible they are in their activism. I'm like, God, what was I doing when I was that age? And is it like, was it me that just was, really subpar?
No. Kids
or
are
is
not
like
nearly
social
as political.
media, just completely changed kids. But then it also happened when I was watching the other day, or like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I was watching Dear White People on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Which
how was that show?
I hadn't seen before.
I haven't seen it.
And like, it was entertaining, but it was the same kind of thing where like, you have people who clearly aren't college kids playing college kids because everyone's like really attractive and really ripped and like very grown up, an adult, but also like so woke and like their whole lives revolve around that. And I'm like, I don't know, I was just smoking a lot of weed in college and like getting drunk. And I'm like, did I do it wrong? Is this just a TV show, or do our kids actually like this?
Yeah, but I think that's still what kids are mostly doing in college. Like
that's what
the
I
other
like
thing
to
is
think, and then
just,
I'm like, you know, why am I letting myself be swayed by television?
I think for better for worse. Like we have Gene Bajalan on the show all the time, right? He's like also crew, and he's young professor at Missouri State, which is like, you know, representative to me of like a normal college.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because all of these stories come out of like a handful of elite colleges, basically. I was like, what are the politics like there? And he's like, well, you know, like it's a college. It's a little bit more liberal than like other parts of Missouri, by which like these kids are like Democrats. Like, you know, they're smart, they're cool, but they're not like, I think that's a super overblown conversation, both by people who want to exploit it and make it a bigger deal for their own reactionary ends, and also just because like it's fucking easy content for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like, wow, like there was some college controversy. Who gives a fuck? Come on. Let's do a little Bannon.
I just
Oh no, finish.
No, my
finish.
last point I was gonna make about that is I also just feel like, I don't know, sometimes at that age too, you're kind of just like, oh, people are protesting something, like maybe I'll go protest it too.
Totally.
Like, you know, like you're just like, cool, everyone's going out, everyone's streaking in the quad, which no one actually did, obviously, when Will Ferrell.
You know how awesome it would be if like you could just
start a mass social movement. It's like, come on, it's cool.
Like your friends wanted to do it too. Just
we're
naturally?
doing
That'd be
it.
Bizarre.
Yeah, that would be super bizarre.
At my hippie school, Santa Cruz, UC Santa Cruz,
there
was
must have actually been
a naked run.
Yeah, of course.
That happened on the first rain of every school year. And so
I feel like if I went to Santa Cruz, I might be working at Goldman today. It's very. Like,
I
there's a little bit of a possibility.
My freshman year, we were like off campus at some house party, and then it started raining, and we're like, oh, we got to get to campus for the first rain. And so we hopped into some stranger's car, hitchhiked, as you do in Santa Cruz, up to campus. And then I just remember running around the entire campus for like miles in the pouring rain, but also like carrying my clothes because we, didn't get to like go to our rooms first.
Yeah, you were committed.
And then
your mom drove by. She's like, "What are you doing?"
Well, there were a bunch of cops, you know, that were kind of just like.
But they must have known what was going on.
No, it happens every year, so they know what's going on. But then they just post up with their headlights on and then just like sit back in their car and just watch thousands of like naked young people stream by.
Yeah, do they like draw straws for that patrol?
Say, baby, put down that pipe and get my pipe up.
That's the Santa Cruz PD.
So yeah, first rain.
That is
first
so
rain.
fucking foul. Just like, yeah, first rain, fellas.
It's gonna be
imagine like they're about to like fucking tase, torture some black guy. Like, it's your lucky night, Akeem. We got first rain.
Yeah, it starts sprinkling as they get the taser out.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you were fucking lucky. We were gonna murder you and not report it. It's first rain.
My campus was the kind of campus where like when military recruiters would come as part of the job fair, that's when there would be a huge protest and people would like shut it all down.
Fuck yeah. Did you ever do a naked run through the military recruiting fair?
No, I should have somehow.
That would have been very cool. That would have been synthes. All right, well, fuck it. We don't have to play these.
No,
clips.
let's just do it.
All right, we'll do a Bannon, and then we'll just do Bannon, and then we'll take the rest of the calls. We'll do a little Bannon. Here he is with Fareed Zakaria, and I did want to play this because this is actually like a perfect example of what you're talking about in terms of like evasion, resetting terms, and also why legitimately I still think from the perspective of somebody on the right who actually has like an ideological plan that could appeal to normal people, this guy's somewhat potent that way, and that's one of the reasons he's so fucking dangerous.
You say you're not a racist, and I take you at face value. But I want to ask you...
This is already the difference between myself and Fareed Zakaria. I don't take things at face value, but go ahead.
You say you're not a racist, and I take you at face value. But I want to ask you about the policies and their intended or unintended consequences. Because they would sure as hell attract a lot of people as supporters who are avowedly racist. And I think about an exchange you had with Donald Trump on Breitbart Radio. It was very interesting. Trump said that he was in favor of high-skilled immigrants. And you said, well, wait a minute, if you're going to end up with 2/3 of Silicon Valley CEOs being from South Asia, and then you paused and you said, a country is more than an economic community.
Yes.
So basically you're saying that there are too many people like me in America, and isn't that racist?
No. Let's talk about it. Economic nationalism doesn't care about your race, your ethnicity, your religion, doesn't care about, your gender, doesn't care about your religion, doesn't care about what your sexual preference is. It cares about if you're a United States citizen.
Does he look more disturbing with makeup than like his usual? Because I feel like they're trying to make him look a little healthier, and he actually looks even less, like even more on the verge of a major health catastrophe than before.
He got through the makeup desk, but they still let him wear 2 collars.
Well, that's his brand. He always wears multi-layer shirts. That's part of his brand. That's what he does.
But does he actually have 2 collars on, or is it just that he has the jacket and the collared shirt?
I think it might be 2 collars.
It is.
I think it's 2 collars.
What?
Does he look like one of the cops from Santa Cruz?
It looks like a polo.
If you could just sniff Bannon's multiple collars.
I was trying to make this a serious point. Now I'm fucking nauseated. I shouldn't have even opened
I love,
this door.
by the way, because he referred to globalists like 80 times in this interview, and you see just the giant world globe, just like the blurred in the background behind him.
Fareed Zakaria is just like, you say you're not racist, but you suggested that. So, yeah, first of all, Fareed, you're fucking all right, okay? Here's the deal.
No, but I'm with you.
He's
He's scary because
he has an effect. He has a message that I think could really resonate. So, all right, let's play a bit more of this.
But those people are all in Silicon Valley. They are American citizens. They have
we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know what's come through by HB1 visas or not. What I'm saying is that we can't get this country sorted out until we've now taken the entire elementary school and made it science, technology, engineering, and math.
But you're evading that, Steve. With all due respect, what that answer implied was they'd come from the wrong culture. If they came from the right culture, if I was white and Christian,
by the way,
you might have a different reaction.
Makes absolutely no difference.
No? What do you mean?
By the way, if you're from Asia and you're here, second generation American citizen, absolutely no problem. These HB1 visas, where you come here and basically to take the jobs of American citizens, is just not acceptable, and that's not racist. American citizens. By the way, the central beating heart of this is that Hispanics and blacks have to get into the high value-added tech jobs. We're never going to do that as long as they have unfair competition. Remember, when Sessions and I first started this back...
By the way, you're not also going to do that by gutting spending. I mean, you're celebrating the deconstruction of the administrative state, but it is all those scholarships and programs and pre-K and nutrition programs that help poor people rise up. And I don't understand why.
By the way, we just passed a $4.3 trillion budget.
All right, pause it. Okay, we're done with this. This is when he starts bullshitting, obfuscating about the budget. And I'm actually amazed that Fareed Zakaria made that point. He's absolutely right. But I think that argument, and in fact, if they governed according to what he wanted them to do, and he fused together like xenophobia with like increasing taxes on the rich and infrastructure investments, I think that is really potent politics. And one of the things that concerns me is I think that actually does have the potential of happening in Europe, right? Like actual delivery with like serious racism, xenophobia, and social reversal. So I think like he's still relevant.
I think so. Well, it's interesting because he was in Europe because he was like meeting with a bunch of people from...
He's doing a fascism tour.
Yeah, exactly. And Fareed was asking about it, and he was like, yeah, I just think that Europe is, maybe like a year and a half ahead of us in the United States on this, which I think probably it's a little more than that, but it is kind of, scary to think about it. And he just kept throwing back and echoing to almost like Tea Party rhetoric, right? About like Wall Street and about the economic collapse and about who wasn't held accountable, no bankers, yada, yada. And so, of course, it's dangerous because that kind of economic populism, is what is attracting most people, so many people right now because of growing economic divides.
But
and it just
nothing
depends
about
on if
labor
you want to like.
unions, nothing about the vocal roll. Like that's the thing is,
Yeah,
it's
of
always
course
why it's
not.
all bullshit.
It's fake. Absolutely
all a
fake.
lie.
Populism. When
Yeah.
he worked at Goldman Sachs and Fareed Zakaria asked him about that, and he was like, listen, I was just like a middle class kid from wherever, and I had the privilege of going to work there for a little while.
He's like, yeah, I
Check
had
it
an
out."
opportunity, Saji.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
No,
I do
he's
my
a-
own thing now.
He's a scary figure. I'm with you.
Can we make fun of Dave Rubin for a second? I'm sorry to expose you to. You don't even know who Dave Rubin
I know
is.
who he
barely.
is, but I'm like, don't really.
Oh God, I
pay
envy you so
attention.
much. Well, Dave Rubin. Do we have a second of Dave Rubin's comedy that we could play for Alyona? Is that available? I should have done this before, but Dave Rubin is, in addition to being like a right-wing hack, stand-up guy, or a talk show guy, and just like a promoter of like the soft alt-right and everything. He used to be a stand-up comedian,
Okay.
and you can tell
He
when
kind of identifies as one.
he identifies as one. He definitely identifies as stand-up comedian, and you can tell when you watch him why it makes how disgusting his career has become a lot more understandable, because this wasn't going to happen. But he's back to stand-up, and there's a little bit of a story behind it that I wanted to share with everybody that our friend Nathan Bernard has discovered. But first, I just want to give you a taste of this vintage Dave Rubin, something we call census comedy.
Lesbians love Amstel. What is that? What is it? It tastes like water. Huh? It's like, is there anything hotter than a lesbian spitting Amstel Light all over herself?
They're two different sets.
Yeah.
This has become very uncomfortable. And you, I think you're gay. You're. Am I right? No? Really? No, Mormon? You raised your hand. Does anyone need their genitals warmed up? That is our show. All right, did you guys have fun?
So that's like, that really is like a absolutely accurate representation of his comedy. So now he's out doing stand-up again, and he
So that's
claims
old stand-up,
This
right?
is
Just to
old,
clarify.
but again, if you've seen his recent stuff, it's literally the same. It just with like a more right-wing tilt on it. And now he shared apparently on Twitter or Instagram a letter from a fan, which people are speculating was written by Dave Rubin, because this is all like Dave Rubin verbiage right here. So he wrote, this quote-unquote fan wrote, "Great show last night, Dave. I brought my wife and my college-age sister, both pretty apolitical, and they had a great time as well." So he's literally starting to hit, he's a very demographic focused, like as if normal people write this sort of like market segmented, like, my sister's in the 35 to 40 market, and is not strongly politically committed, but does support saving the whales. Anyway, okay, the letter continues. "I'm a Trump supporter, so my family thinks I spend all day filling my mind with alt-right Nazi garbage. When I took them out to see my quote-unquote favorite YouTube interviewer, they were like, wait, what the fuck is this normalcy? I actually agree with this. Why is there a math guy with a bag of bizarre fruit and a harmonica? Where are all the KKK hats?" Okay, so there's the letter. And then he quote tweet he tweeted Eric Weinstein, I guess, tweeted this supposed letter, and Dave Rubin quote tweeted it with the line, "Opening minds through laughter, music, and fruit." These people,
Such a comedian.
like, they're the worst people on earth. Like, did they just? What way do they not suck? Like, they managed to combine like the fucking boring, sanctimonious mediocrity of like the college scene that we were complaining about before, except they're also like active promoters of racism. They don't even have like the upside of like, well, at least their intentions are in the right place. Like, their intentions are in the wrong place, and they're fucking boring and self-important and suck. Did you read any of the Barry Weiss articles about these people?
I did, yeah. The
What did
whole
you?
intellectual dark web.
I like how you said it. The intellectual dark web.
Yes, I did.
You're a fucking adult and literally generating that name for yourself.
I'm in the dark web.
I'm in the dark web. I just said, it's like, to the extent it's even a real thing, it's where you like procure fucking children over the internet. But don't worry about that. It's like fucking Dungeons and Dragons. What the fuck is the
I
matter
think
with
part
these
of the
people?
problem though is like I don't agree at all with the Dave Rubins of the world or the Barry Weisses of the world except for I do feel, again, when we're talking about people these days who take things too far, like there is such a thing as an intolerant left.
Right.
You know, and you just have like the wrong people are complaining about it. The people who have like no business complaining about intolerance because that is what they spew are then just like acting like it's the left that does it. But there is such a thing these days, I feel like, as a, you know, a very like hacky, partisan, obnoxiously annoying part of the left that like can't hear certain things.
I totally think that's true. But
the
I also
Samantha Bee thing, like the way
I only bring that up because of that's what, you know. What
I haven't even thought.
arguing in that one
I can't
article.
believe that Samantha Bee apologized. I thought that was pathetic. But I mean, I guess my only point I'll say real quick before we get to Samantha Bee is I think like yes, there is, and people like Angela Nagel who are on the left have critiqued it really effectively. Like the people who actually have smart critiques of it that are in good faith are on the left. These people are trying to like weaponize something and blow it way out of proportion to advance their own bullshit. But what about Samantha? What I don't even know. She called Ivanka
a cunt.
Okay.
On Instagram.
Why?
Feckless cunt.
That's how is
believe,
so.
right?
What is
and
the
they're saying, well, how
controversy?
can Roseanne be racist and call like black people apes when Samantha Bee can call a single individual a cunt?
See, this is the
It's
problem.
like not the same thing.
Yeah, but this is the problem with liberals is that they fucking. I was like, I think I said about Colin Kaepernick. I was like, because I support Colin Kaepernick and I don't support Roseanne. That's why. Fuck you. I don't have like some nerdy because of the principle.
But also, like, why is Ivanka Trump off limits? You know, to like
I think
just
they're
to be
saying
called.
the C word is the problem.
Oh, it's the C word that's the problem. So this is how
That
little I've
must
been
be
paying
what-
attention to
we
this
did-
controversy.
Yeah.
I like the word cunt. Like, you know.
That's another drop. See, and by the way, I really want this to continue, but may I just say that I said at the beginning of this show that you would get to the same place without alcohol. And not only have we gotten to the same place, we've gotten more drops, more fire. Okay, so yes.
Again, I said it's because I had an emotionally taxing day.
This is going to be like 2 months from now. It's
No,
like, well,
but I mean,
my cashmere sweaters weren't restored, so it was a very intense day. And
my
that's why
fucking dog was killed.
I understand that's horrible, but my point is that you're
I
always
know.
going to bring
No,
the fire, which I want.
Anything is going to be an excuse. Yeah.
Yes, which is a good thing.
The mosquito touched my face.
That's right. So so she called her a feckless cunt, which by the way she is, and because her point was
so it's like a gendered. Offensive.
And so what happened, and it was like the classic parrot.
Like, don't ever use that word, sort of thing.
Well, there's just this hyper literalization.
That's what I'm saying. Like reclaim the word cunt.
Yeah.
You know, I think women can do that.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I think they say cunt all the time in the UK, and it didn't stop Theresa May or Thatcher from getting in. Right?
Yeah, but it's also just like what, but it's just, I guess what it is but that's a, to me though, that's not necessarily even like, I don't know if that's like another, that's like a hyper literalization, and it's a people who, yes, you're right, they make their whole politics about manners. And so then when the right is totally dishonest and totally full of shit, they can use the see, no one can buy your logic, me, because that's not how I operate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't give a, my point is that what Roseanne said was racist.
And it jives
it's
with
not
what she
about,
does.
and it jives with who she is, what she does, and what she promotes. So go for it. Get her. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not, but that had nothing to do with like what jokes can be made, what words can be used. This is not my complaint.
And
that's
also,
not the issue.
I feel like
Racism's the issue.
I know it's the whole like double standard thing, but like, can't Samantha Bee call another woman a cunt? But you know, like we'd be pissed obviously if a guy.
I mean,
did
I
it,
think-
but
Yeah, I think. I mean, I would be willing to argue the case, to be honest with you, even beyond that, because I do think there's maybe broader things at stake. But like, yeah, there's also some basic operational things. If Roseanne was a black comedian who made that joke about Valerie Jarrett, it would register completely differently. Of course, that's not even a fucking question.
Did you see?
Yeah.
There was a huge
You're totally
brouhaha
right.
in DSA because one member of the New York DSA shared Samantha Bee's clip on his private Facebook account.
Why was there a brouhaha?
He got dragged and called, all these names and sexist and like just like flogged through the square.
Are you fucking serious?
And it wasn't. He was just like, "Oh, this is like a funny, this is a comedian."
God. Yeah.
And it's like, and that's where it gets really funny.
This is like, I hate everyone.
Well, this
I
is
just hate everyone.
I totally, but I think that the substance behind it is the elevation of morals and manners over politics.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And that is a major problem.
Imagine if Samantha Bee was known as like a woman hater, right? That was one of her things to use. Then by all means, like go after her. Like Roseanne has been doing this shit for like years, and people predicted she would say something like this.
Right.
And like so, like it's not comparable. And what you do and who you are does matter in these things. It's not just the like literal thing that's said.
No,
you have to build up credibility on these things.
That's exactly right. And if DSA is, I mean, I've been very hesitant to get into because I'm not like I've done some things with DSA. I think the growth of DSA is one of the most inspiring things in the world today. But I hear these stories, and I mean, that's just shockingly ineffective would be the most. I mean, like, we do have to do that sketch. Like, it's a meeting of, like, the African National Congress in the 1960s. They're underground. They're arming to fight apartheid. And Mandela's like, can somebody please quiet the fuck down? I'm like, oh, that was very ableist language that Comrade Mandela used. I think we need to process that for 30 days. Like, there's actual things to do here. And at some point, if it does become like, it's very weird that it's also so internally directed. Like, that's a thing that I even, like, we actually make the decision a lot of times on this show to, like, not even dunk on liberals that much. Like, like some socialist shows, which I love, right? They fucking love. Like,
half the show is them saying liberals in this.
Yeah, like, haha, did you see this liberal bullshit? And like, I think it's funny, and I usually agree with them, but I'm still like, no, let's make the calculation. Like, there's people that we have disagreements with and conflict with, and then there's like people that are like serious, like the people that control the fucking country are more of a priority, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so like, picking your battles and choosing where you intervene and what you intervene over is really important. And this like weird thing inside like already really small, growing, but still marginalized groups to be like, we should focus our attention on like fucking like Xing people out because they share. I mean, if you're telling that story about a fucking Samantha Bee joke, that's like, I mean, that like that just requires like psychiatric attention. That's not even like a political issue. That's just fucking stupid.
But that's just like makes you feel like we're doomed.
It does, because it makes you feel
we're
like
not gonna get anywhere.
Literally like the planet is dying, and like the energy that we need if we're gonna pull off this little tiny bank shot to survive is like an emergency meeting of the Central Brooklyn Committee of the DSA over sharing a fucking Samantha Bee joke. I mean,
but just the clarification, these things aren't happening like within the organization, more like members on members. So that's the hopeful turn.
What a nice comradely thing to do. Here's your. Could you imagine? Fucking Jesus. Like, I thought that what Waters and Sulu said about the opening festivities was totally othering.
Instead of going back,
we should disband as a group.
Instead of going back in time, just bring like Stalin and Trotsky up to discuss like the actual issues. Like they shared a Samantha Bee joke.
It's like, yeah, that was. Even like Stalin would be like, I think you guys need to really figure out what an actual political crime is. It's ridiculous. You need to think a little bit more strategically before you start killing your comrades, all right? It's just going to be every little fucking thing. We're not going to get anywhere. That's awesome. Like, Stalin returns and is just appalled by, like, DSA nonsense. It's like, I understand that wasn't the proper pronoun. We're all on the same page. But a misuse of it once 7 years ago out of context should not lead to a lifelong ban. Guys, we need to think about this.
No one's going to be left.
That's great.
Yeah.
the Cubans never go to the hills because it's like so it's like I have asthma.
Who would be more annoying about that, Fidel or Che?
About like being like super
Who would
woke
be a better
language.
culture warrior? Fidel or
Che
would be way more
because he's a rich kid. He would be such a prick. He would be like sucking on his inhale. He would like really lean on asthma to like increase his quotient.
Che like the Spartan. Che like the Spartan sort of living, right?
No, like Castro would be like, hey, you know what? Fuck it, whatever. We gotta figure shit out, man. You know, and then like Che would just be like, Comrade Castro, I noticed that
he's the absolute.
It seemed like that you were laughing a little bit at that Samantha Bee clip, and I just think that while Ivanka Trump probably should be shot against a wall in our revolution, I just think to otherize her like that is just wrong. I say that respectfully to commentarian. Yeah, Che would not emerge as the most cool at all.
No, definitely.
No, Che would be a fucking pain in the ass.
He would be pretty lame.
Yeah,
I think.
Che would just yak and yak and yak. Oh my god, it's the fucking nightmare. Imagine Che. So it's like, hi, I'd like I'm speaking for the asthma caucus. So
that's the thing. Is like, how do you make people, more whatever, sensitive, inclusive, mindful, without also making everyone more lame?
I mean,
like with keeping people real at the same time, and like in a sense where you still have some perspective.
I guess what I don't understand, and where I have to like sometimes be like, I don't know, like, look, fair enough, I'm a straight white guy, I've got my own like perspectives and limits, but it just seems to me that so much, like, I get really operational. Like, what are your views, right? What are your actual policy views on transgender rights, as an example, or people with any category of people who've had legal, political, social oppression, right? So to me, that's like the first most basic dividing line. Do you support a policy agenda of equity, right? To me, as a functionalist, that's literally 80% of it. Like, what do you actually support in terms of an actual agenda that actually impacts people's lives? And then I just think, and then on an interpersonal level, I guess I liked what Assad said. He's like, you want to like overcome this stuff. Like, people actually have to do stuff together. Like, work on political projects, be in communities together, like do things. It can't just be this like endless, because I also will say one thing I can say comfortably and with certainty is that, like, if you step out of some of these situations and go to groups of people that are definitely representative of different class backgrounds, and class backgrounds that cut across gender, sexual, racial identities, but are people that are like, much more on like the economic receiving end, and their life is driven by a lot more like actual shit they have to deal with, including their oppression because of their identity. They're not up for 3 weeks on Samantha Bee's joke. Like, they've got shit to do and actual things to worry about. So I think that that's part of it. And then, I don't know, like, I think things like this is where stuff like emotional intelligence matters, and like what people's actual intentions are. And I don't know. And I also think sometimes uncomfortably for people, the ability, particularly if you're out building coalitions, like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes people are going to say some shit that's fucked up. And it doesn't mean you have to condone it or co-sign on it at all. But you have to also be in a world where that's true. Like, people in some breaths want to, like, on one hand talking about, like, flipping back voters that have been, like, drawn to what I would literally consider fascist politics. And then on the other hand, can't deal with the Samantha Bee joke. I don't know how you're going to, I don't know how those two things are going to operate together. Because if you're going to go out there, and again, I don't condone it.
It's a good point. No, it's a good point,
At
though.
all,
like, the people who you see as being on your side or as members of your tribe, you demand perfection from them. And then the others, you are willing to, like, allow so many indiscretions as long as you, like, start chipping away.
Well, or not.
Or
not. Maybe some people go out and demand the same level of perfection. And it's like, look, that's just not politics. I mean, you know, maybe that's your social group. I actually totally understand that. I think if people say like, hey, you know what, in my scene, I want to hang out with a particular type of, you know, person, we all make those decisions. That makes total sense. But that's not politics.
Yeah.
You know, politics definitely involves a lot of like, all right. And, you know, making those distinctions and
That's
calls.
very true.
You're calling from a 518 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Michael, can you get me in contact with Mr. Chuck Schumer? I'm not really understanding. This is Mr. Bailey here. I said eat the rich.
Mr. Bailey. This is Dave from Jamaica.
Yeah, it's Dave from Jamaica.
How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing fine. Well, I guess to kind of bring everything together, as you said, people kind of fighting the wrong battles and missing the forest for the trees.
Right.
Maybe they can start with learning how to like problematic music, or problematic comedy. I like Bill Cosby, but I think he should go to jail for the rest of his life.
Well, here's my question.
His comedy.
Was his comedy problematic though? Like, I thought Bill Cosby was kind of I thought like he is just like problematic in the sense of being an arch criminal, but I thought his comedy was like very like eat the jello.
No, his comedy was pretty jello, yeah, but with the pudding pops and whatnot. But
yeah,
if you really look for it, maybe you could see hints of it. Maybe a certain special where he kind of hints that he likes his women unconscious.
That's creepy. That's fucking
really?
creepy. See, that to me, I would put slightly more in like the R. Kelly kind of category, where it's just like, is this someone that you can enjoy when you know? Not like, oh yeah, he said some fucked up shit or whatever. Who cares? But that's like, whoa, that's a lot.
I'm
man.
with you.
I can't even honestly look at that guy without getting like a little like queasy.
But all right, to put it to another example, Alyona would completely lost the track of thought. But you guys maybe once a month should do some rap critique.
I agree.
I would love to see a show with Michael, Waz, Alyona, and then rap fan Sam Cedar.
I'm honored that you think my critique is worthy.
Absolutely nothing. No, I like that.
No, rap fan Sam Cedar.
My Sam impression. Like, A$AP Rocky really fell off.
but
because you see, because Drake bodied Meek and no one thought he would. Do you see?
But yeah, I think that will help it. Like you and me, we both listen to dancehall, and we know dancehall is super problematic. But it has a catchy beat.
Yes,
as long as we're not at what's going on in the song, we're fine. I mean, Alyona, you should listen to more Vibes Cartel since you already are a big DMX fan. I think it would be a natural.
She would like Vibes Cartel.
I'll check it out.
Did you ever watch that Vibes Cartel interview? It's the most. And forgive me, you know my Jamaican accent's like okay, it's not perfect, but it's okay, it's doable.
You'll work on it.
Yeah.
Get your Irish down, and then you'll get the Jamaican down.
So they asked him.
They flow together.
I totally believe that. They asked him. There was like a rumor, and I love that this was like asked on a news program in Jamaica. But there was this rumor like that he sold his soul to the devil. Like literally, that was like the story. and so like the host was like, there's a story that you have that Vibes Cartel has you Vibes Cartel have sold your soul to the devil. And Vibes Cartel is just literally, he's like, and what's funny is he does look almost demonic. Like he does have a certain like really intense appearance. I don't know how to describe it. And he just kind of looks, he's just like,
it's called skin bleaching.
It's skin bleaching. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. He goes, the devil have bank account. He goes, devil give me Citibank card. He just took it like super practical. He just like wire transfer. Venmo.
I like that. I like that.
Dave, we got to keep it running. You got anything else? Please, and stop
Yes.
overexposing
I'm
yourself
trying
with all of these Majority Report calls. Keep it to the better show. Come on.
I know.
Yeah.
But thanks, Dave. Maybe I'll be
nice and
invited
quick.
for some
And then-
actual rap commentary / criticism in the
You
future.
will. I hit you. I said Pusha T and Drake. That's an important conversation.
No, I know. I'm honored.
And I also was I was like, oh man, she's on Google right now.
So,
I knew she was going to come in. She's like,
get-
of course, this goes back to Little Wade.
no, if it
and there is
wasn't-
a very elaborate history behind the whole conflict, if you will.
If it wasn't for the man I love, like forcing me to listen to that Pusha T song a million times over the last couple of days, then I would have been Googling a lot. You're right.
He's right to do that. It's a great song.
I guess the one request I have is,
Yeah.
Alanya, I need to hear you do a karaoke of DMX's
Okay,
song.
oh.
I'd pay money for that.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
That's going to
With the
require a lot of alcohol.
That's coming. Just give him a little bark before he goes off. Come on. Come on, take him with a feather. Come on. Yeah.
Seriously.
It feels perfect. Thank you. All right, Dave.
Yeah, all right.
There you go. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. You should be a very happy customer right now. You're calling from a 720 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brooksy, it's Bertolt Mecht calling from Golden, Colorado.
Hey, how are you? How's it going, brother?
It's going all right. It's going all right. It's nice out. It's a little earlier here. Sun's setting and whatnot.
Nice.
Yeah. So, you figure you've got some callers.
Cool.
So, I got 3 things. I'll just let you choose which one.
Okay.
I got a depressing and apocalyptic water point.
I'm not up for that right now.
I call R. Kelly, Kanye, Ted Nugent, and separating the work from the artist.
Ooh.
Or a point about the genesis of Golden Dawn in Greece, and then Bannon and Italy implications, tie into Bannon, and then
all right.
recent
All 3
Italy
of these
development.
are really good, and I wish you would call back next week. But tonight, I got to go with Nugent, Kanye, and R. Kelly.
Definitely.
And I'm saying Kanye is going to come out in that one fine. Like compared to R. Kelly and Ted Nugent, yes, Kanye is okay. He's not been
as a
accused of
comparison, I
like
would
harming
tend to
anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually that does kind of play into the criterion here. But the R. Kelly discussion earlier got me thinking about it.
Oh, you wanted to play
that
F,
I've had
Marry, Kill
several
with
times.
Alyona. Oh, okay, got it. Go ahead, Alyona.
Wait, what?
Sorry, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, man.
I love a good fuck, kill, or marry.
Well, it's obvious Ted Nugent dies.
Yeah, Ted Nugent, obviously, I would imagine.
Or R. Kelly's crime. Well, okay, give me a sec.
We are a little
now I'm
tight
thinking
here.
about that. No.
We're a little tight here, and
Yeah.
everybody in this studio is like coughing simultaneously, so we got to be a little time sensitive on this. But I do like the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, though, the Kanye conversation, how much can you separate the work from the artist, right? That's been happening a lot recently as a result of all that's been going on. And I kind of call it my Ted Nugent rule. And basically, you gotta separate the work from the artist unless one of 2 conditions is met.
Yeah.
One, the art itself is inextricable from the artist. And I don't necessarily hear Ted Nugent saying, oh, Bummer is a Muslim shomo in Stranglehold, for instance.
Right.
And number 2 would be unless you're materially contributing to an actual harm. And that would kind of play in with R. Kelly, where in a modern streaming music economy, you're literally contributing to sex slavery.
Right.
Yeah. So when it comes to Kanye, then I mean, there's a lot going on there, but you got to separate the work from the artist because it's not like he's rapping about how he is now a MAGA chud. Although I'll hold my reservations until all of the work comes out from this period.
Well, none of the album has like no politics in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Isn't there another one in the
Except for
works?
wanting to kill your partner, which
in the pipeline?
No, that's fine. Fair enough.
I'm all for that. I literally told Jake the other day, I was like, you made me so angry. I had thoughts of just like stabbing you in the bed next to me.
It's super Russian.
I know. I just
By the way, I just
I
want to
felt like
reiterate,
I had to let him
Alyona
know.
has not drunk anything. Anything.
Glitter.
Yeah, I think I've
Is that-
confirmed my point here.
That was Gary Glitter, yep.
By the way, what
okay,
gender
thank you.
double
That was-
standards?
that
I
was
could
brilliant.
never tell a girl that I was just like, hey, I want to stab you.
Well,
Never.
that too. I think it's probably like you should just never say that to anyone.
Yeah, you probably. That's also.
But I just
probably
like
the
couldn't
bigger
help
part.
it. I was just so angry. I was like, I really just have visualized like fucking stabbing you and killing you in that moment.
And then you go, arf, arf. Jesus Christ, it's fucking classic.
And I'm
All
like,
right, I buy
I'm
that.
happy he didn't like call the police on me or something. You know,
Yeah.
it's very true.
No,
All right.
we still have some of those skills left as men. We're like, no, dear, none of that. I'll be in the living room burning Palo Santo now, and you get a hold of yourself. You're calling from you're calling from a 617 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
You're here. What's
Hello,
up?
hello.
Yeah,
Can you
you're
hear
on.
me? Sweet. Привет, Аленочка. Я очень рада тебя видеть. Это очень так долго не встретились. Oh, hi, Michael.
Hi. How are you?
Здравствуйте. Мы знакомы?
Okay. Да, ну, в сентябре. У нас несколько раз я, когда это было, да, хотела, но это очень поздно.
So I do have a lot of patrons in Brighton Beach, but not all.
All
are
right,
in
yeah, you
Brighton
should get
Beach.
your bun down there.
Because all Russians live in Brighton Beach.
Really?
Yeah, I do. All of a sudden, Miss bitching about woke culture pulls out some fucking garden variety triggered shit. Like, because we're all at Brighton Beach.
I was thinking about that during our conversation. I was like, you know, I've gotten really pissed about stuff about Russians, and like people have told me I have no sense of humor, and I'm like, well, guilty. I'm guilty.
No, you'll pull out some real well actuallys. It is actually pretty funny. Everybody's got their shit.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know. Maybe he should have been poisoned with plutonium. I don't know.
Well, actually,
he had been threatening the Russian Federation for quite some time. Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's the rule. Just never start a sentence with "well, actually," and anything you say after that is fine. Rachel, what do you have in mind?
There's a joke. Okay, real fast joke. Where does a a couple things. A real lickety split. Where does a mansplainer get his water?
Where?
Well.
That's actually, you know what?
I like that.
That's actually well done.
Okay, but also,
that's actually pretty good.
Monica Lewinsky stuff. I'd like to think I was like woke when I was like 14. I don't remember it, but I do remember me and my friends for Halloween, like 9th grade, all dressed up as individuals from like a huge posse of us dressed up as people from the Clinton scandal. I think I was like Paula Jones, and we just went around trick-or-treating like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have any pictures? That actually sounds pretty. Were any of the guys Ken Starr? Were any of the guys Ken Starr?
What's that?
Were any of the guys Ken Starr?
I think so. I don't know if we had I don't know if there were any rubber masks for that, but I think so.
I think I was Bill Clinton around that time, but I didn't even. I just like walked around and I could already kind of do the voice. And I was just like, "Hey, give me some candy! How dare you?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I want a Philly blunt to smoke this dime bag now." I did a lot of that, like real, like peak high school humor, where you're just like, "What if you could do like a fucking impression of the president, but you just talked about smoking weed?"
Yeah,
fucking awesome.
Also, one thing for real, just that I feel like Monica Lewinsky doesn't get enough credit for, if I'm recalling correctly. Didn't she? Well, the scandal, for which she totally deserves credit for more or less saving Social Security.
Yeah, that is actually a theory.
So,
yes, yeah. No, that's true. Clinton was going to
So I'm
move
just saying,
towards
whether
gutting.
or not it's true, she's given so much shit that she should be given a little bit of credit.
Yeah,
There is so many people, not even like the same sort of thing, but it's just what's crazy about like just the idea that one decision you made when you're fucking 22 years old could define your life like that in such a global way is wild and fucked up.
Fucked up, yeah.
And by all accounts, like she seems like a pretty, I don't know, like everything I've read and seen of her as like a proper fucking adult, it's like, oh, she seems like a pretty decent person who's kind of like trying to figure it out.
Yeah, she's been writing great stuff at Vanity Fair. Like,
yeah, it's terrible. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for staying up.
All right. Good night.
Bye, Rachel. Spokojnie
Russians.
Well, no,
Here
like
yes.
Ted Lieu, the California congressman, tweeted something, I don't know, like, a year and a half ago or something
Where
about.
he's just like, hey, the Russians are super stupid.
It was like, my
I'm Ted
kid
Lieu.
asked me if the president was Russian, and I was like, oh, that would be scary. and I responded in a tweet like, why is being Russian scary?
Well, I mean, to be fair, Alyona, it would be pretty terrifying, right? I mean,
no, but it's, and like I wrote about that, and I'm writing currently about a lot of other Russia stuff, and it's an interesting point of like not going too far and being too like sensitive and sensy about certain things, but also pointing out what I think can be.
you're like, I think the intellectual dark web has a fucking point because like there is pussies out there. How dare you, Congressman Lieu? We're human beings with our own distinct agency.
I didn't say pussies.
I was so triggered. Did you tell Congressman Lieu you were triggered? All right,
I got some like angry responses of people after I wrote this article. They were like, "It was a fucking joke. What the fuck is wrong with you?" Like, I was like, "Whoa!"
That's amazing when resistance people talk about jokes.
Yeah.
The most like humor-free, neurotic, literal-minded people on like the planet.
And
like,
in the same
"Oh,
article,
he's joking."
I referenced how like Keith Olbermann referred to just Russian scum in a video that he did, which is like legitimately fucked up.
Yo, that brief like Keith Olbermann revival is one of the most wild things I've ever seen in my life. Like, just
and
like
then he just signed off one day as if like my work is done. Like. Resistance is finished.
That was the coolest part of it. He was literally just like, every day we must fight until this president leaves office. We're under siege. Well, you know what? GQ's not meeting my estimate, and fuck this. Ironically, I'm going to go back to, didn't he like live in the Trump
Sliding
Tower?
off.
Yeah, just like, yeah, fuck it. I'm sure it'll work out. You're calling from a 347 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's me, Mike from Gravesend. What's up?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Not much. I actually missed the earlier part of the episode you did with Assad.
Yes.
But I wanted to make a comment on this whole spat with identity politics. And
right.
I kind of just feel like the whole discussion about that is kind of, it's almost acts like a trap to the left, because I often see it the way it plays out. It's like, do you believe in race over class or something like that? And I always feel like that's a trap to get into, because it's really, that's not really the issue. Or like, I guess the other way they would put it is like, you believe in race over economics. And I kind of just feel like the real issue is, it's not really about race versus economics or class. It's like something you mentioned, like I think with on a previous episode, where it's really about like material context is kind of inform different ideologies and culture,
right?
Not the other way around.
I mean, they have a reciprocal relationship, but I think Assad does a really good job of synthesizing that. So I would check that interview out. He has a very distinct, I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but he's a very distinct perspective on it, which I would cop that interview when you can. But I agree with you that anybody that sets it as in opposition to each other is either, wrong, or they're trying to undermine more effective politics. I totally agree with you. Hey man,
exactly.
hit me on.
I agree with that.
I agree with you. Hit me on Discord. I know you wanted to come check out the show live. Hit me up. Thanks, man. All right, final call of the night. You're calling from a 330 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from? Pusha T or Drake?
Hello, Michael. This is former President Bill Clinton. I got to make this quick. My wife doesn't like me being on the phone after 10 p.m.
Oh my God, you're a cuck, Mr. President. What happened?
I'm calling because I wanted to make a public apology.
Okay.
I wanted to apologize for saying that blowjobs aren't sex.
Well, I actually have a question for you, Mr. President. Is this because you know, a number of young men, I think, were very concerned by that standard because they would like to include, of course, the blowjob in their overall count. Is that why you wanted to clarify matters?
Oh, yes, so many teenage boys have been teased for being virgins, even after they got their little ding-dong sucked back behind the school.
I'm having such a positive influence on culture.
Personally, I think that is disgusting. Almost as disgusting as women who don't pull their hair up before getting down to business.
Whoa, okay. All right. Okay. Anything else, Mr. President?
No, I got to get going. I got to go feed the slaves.
Oh, my God.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I think that was a callback.
Good note to end on.
That was not a bad impression. That's not a bad impression.
That's pretty good.
I liked he took you know what? Sometimes people can't take the pass that you throw them, but he was able to take it. Michael, if I up my Patreon to $100 a month, will you make the intro song to your show Limp Bizkit's All-Time Slammer Break Stuff? Dude, it's so amazing that you found like the one thing that I would say no to for that. Oh, Tabby Cat, this is too long a question, but I will talk to you more about that next week, I promise. Please re-ask that. And also De Horns as well. These are just too long, but both really good questions. You and Sam said revolutions are most likely to occur after conditions improve slightly. Can you give any sources on this? Thanks. The 80s, apartheid South Africa, conditions were loosened on groups like the ANC. That's what allowed the transition to happen. Even in Russia, there was... David, you want to jump on that?
Oh, I mean, like even in Russia before 1917, from 1900 to 1917, you see all these like minor progressions, even including, you know, the Duma and things like that, where conditions get better. And sometimes when you feed, you know, dreams a little bit, or things start to get better, people start to realize all this other shit that's really fucked up, and it can really accelerate things very quickly.
In a minor...
Give him an inch. Give him a mile.
Exactly. Look at even in a much more petty example, look at fucking Obamacare. It's a totally flawed piece of legislation, but it shifted people's expectation sets about healthcare. Even that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just unending examples. And there's far fewer examples of people like being so pushed. Because, you know, when people are so pushed to the brink, they can be compromised more easily because they're just like at the edge of basic necessity. Matt, do you have something to add to that? All right, everybody. Alyona?
Wait. So am I allowed to make requests for what song you play at the beginning of your show?
Sure.
Is this a thing now?
Yeah, if you up your Patreon account.
Damn it.
Yeah, okay. All right, no, go ahead. Throw me something.
Well, I just think we need to play that Trey songs that my neighbors know.
Yeah, we can play that out. We can definitely play that out. That's no problem with that.
Just tell me it doesn't sound like R. Kelly after you take a little
All
listen.
right, let me hear this.
And be thankful it's not R. Kelly.
All right. Well, it already sounds like R. Kelly. It definitely sounds like R. Kelly. I want to thank super producer Matt Lex, super producer David Slavic for playing the video. Head to your teacher, David Griscom. Is that right?
Griscom.
Pause it. Griscom. Fuck. Griscom.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Alyona, thanks a million. This is a great video. Thank you, David Slavic.
Thank you.
And thank you, Alyona Minkovski. Okay. This is really 90s because he still isn't fucking singing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just...
I was going to take his thing.
He sounds a lot like R. Kelly. He also sounds like Usher to me. Or maybe just... Yeah, that's R. Kelly.
That's how the neighbors know the name.
Yeah, well, how did you think they knew the name, Matt?
I just thought he was friendly with the neighbors.
All right, play us out. Thanks, everybody. God bless.
Grab this. And I know you so